Welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge. It's always a pleasure to have your company, and we are back. It is, of course, the preseason. We are underway, but we're back with another video to discuss some latest news that dropped, which was confirmed by the man himself in Kemp, with the fact that he will indeed be playing primarily as a forward in season 2025. Now, of course, before we kick things off, as always, if you enjoy our content, best way to let us know is by hitting that subscribe button. So feel free to do so, and we do thank you in advance. Now, first up against the Eagles in round 23 was the first of 3 games where he was playing up forward. In this game in particular, showed extreme promise, kicked 4 goals, but it really was in the manner in which that he played the game that really did shine most. Made strong leading patterns, marked strongly on the lead, and displayed forward nous that would indicate his proficiency as an attacking player. Of course, as we know, across the journey, especially in his junior years, Kemp was a true utility in his draft year, showed versatility and ability to play at either end of the ground, but also even given stints through the middle as well. And he was actually even spoken about as a potential top 10 pick heading into that draft year, but that was, of course, before he unfortunately did his ACL. So really, it is no surprise or really foreign to him in the fact that he was asked to play up forward and was able to flourish in that position as well and, fit seamlessly up forward. Now, of course, it wasn't as easy going for Kempy in his following 2 games. Up forward against a full-strength St Kilda and the Brisbane Lions, as we know, that dreaded game, the elimination final, compared to the, depleted Eagles, who were really thin in their defensive stocks, with only really McGovern available. And I think, we can't get too hung up on the game against the Eagles because we have to give ourselves perspective in the fact that, playing the Eagles and the fact that they were depleted, but I do think the fact that he did struggle a little bit more against St Kilda and the Lions says to me that, he's a sort of player that probably isn't built to play a key post as, that focal point up forward, being a full forward or a centre half forward, much like when he is playing in defence, when he's playing as that third string tall defender. I think his best role up forward is as that equivalent, third tall, assisting alongside, obviously, Charlie and Harry. And, I think being able to play even, a foil type role alongside Charlie and Harry is something that is going to be very, very invaluable. We haven't really seen a legitimate tall forward, third tall forward option since McGovern. We traded for Gov, brought him across under the proviso that he was going to be playing more up forward. And as we saw, he was thrown back in defence and has kind of been there for, majority of the time that he's been in navy blue. And, ever since he was thrown back into defence, we haven't really had that, constant in that role. We've had Sauce across the journey try and play that role, being pushed higher up the ground. But, I think the fact that we don't have someone in that role, that third tall forward role, really has been shown, and we've been found out across the journey and exposed by opposition teams due to that, deficiency. We're well aware of, not just the reliance, but the over-reliance on both Harry and Charlie. And, opposition teams have worked us out and able to, by and large, quell our attack because, they just know from the outset that we're going to be targeting either of those 2 guys, especially, Charlie, as we've seen, because Harry's been pushed higher up the ground. And, we've been exposed for it even more when one of these guys goes down with injury. And, as we saw in the back part of 2024, when both of these guys went down, our, attack and our avenue to goal was lacking because we're so over-reliant and we need to find other avenues to goal, which is where I think Kemp comes into it. Now, I think, where Kempy can really help here is with regards to the, the unpredictability of our forward line. It could really add an extra dynamic. And, a big part of, the issues that stemmed from, our inability to score at times has been the fact that we have been lacking forward patterns or leading patterns in this case, which left our team super one-dimensional. Like we're just bombing it into the forward 50, expecting Charlie to become Superman and mark overhead when he's not on the lead, which isn't really playing to his strengths unless he is marking on the lead. Harry at most times was, expected to play as that high half forward, roaming up to the wing, taking marks, and then kicking the ball back into the forward line and then drifting back. Whereas with Charlie, a lot of the time we had him, camped in the 50-meter arc where he was often, double and triple teamed at various stages throughout the season. And I think having Kemp as that legitimate third tall forward will not only provide an extra attacking option, but also provide, a little bit of a foil and draw opposition attention away from the likes of Charlie especially, and allow him to, I guess individually weave his magic. As we know, he's got his strengths, marking on the lead overhead. He's got that speed off the mark. He's so good below his knees as well, Charlie, that we really need to allow him that time, that space, and not be sat on by the, opposition's best defender, but also, double and triple teamed. So I think the potential that it could open up for our forward attack is very, very exciting, not just in terms of what Ken can provide himself, but the flow-on effect, as I said, on both Harry and Charlie. And speaking to Kemp individually, it's no secret that he is very much a confidence player, and I can count, numerous games where he's made an error early in a game and subsequently got into his own head and really found it hard to shake himself out of, this self-doubt mindset. In fact, there are times, and there was a couple of games in 2024 where this happened, and he legitimately, physically, dropped his head. The saying, don't drop your head after making a mistake. He physically dropped his head after making an error, and then after that just compounded, with an error after another error after another error, and that self-doubt just grows and grows. And I think, playing in defense by and large, speaking to that broadly, comes with insane responsibility. Like, the margin for error is much, much higher than playing up forward. You make a mistake or a turnover as a defender, and it could result in conceding a direct goal. The stakes are very, very high, and psychologically, you need to be made of pretty tough stuff to shake off making an error and then being able to, butter up for the next contest. Weeders is a classic example of that. We know of his maturity. He's been playing at senior level for quite a while. He, more often than not, his mistake that he makes is just trying to bomb the ball and clear, the ball out of defense when, the side's under pressure and the opposition's pushing up and trying to, restrict and cause a turnover in their 50 arc. And Weeders has that propensity to just bomb the ball on his boot. And, it happens more, I'm not going to say more often than not, but it does happen quite frequently where he just aimlessly bombs, doesn't look where he's kicking it to. Hopefully he's kicking it to space, but it does happen where it just falls in the arms of the opposition and they're able to, having a bit of a attacking foray off the back of it. But, off the back of those errors that Weeders does make, he is able to wipe that from his mind and be like, all right, let's just, concentrate on the next contest and, atoning for the mistake that he's made. And whilst I think that Kemp has really improved in this area in his time at senior level, I still think it does hold him back from his true potential and, the strengths that he's able to provide, the team. And this is why I think playing him in attack will release those mental demons, those mental shackles, and allow him to truly flourish whilst tapping into, there's those strengths that he does possess when he plays in defense, the strong marking ability, especially overhead, the speed off the mark. And his ability to read the play is such a really good reader of the play. And I think being able to transition that from a defensive mindset into more of an attacking mindset is something that we saw, glimpses of in those 3 games, especially the game against the Eagles, that he can provide, I think, in 2025 and beyond. And I do think that it does open up that new dynamic for our forward half setup. And, after what we saw in 2024 of how we struggled for scoring avenues outside of Harry and Charlie, we definitely need to shake things up. Just to ensure a consistency from week to week, that we're able to kick scores that will put us in winning positions week in, week out. So I still think there needs to be a change in the assistant coaching department. I think Jordan Russell was heading up the forward coaching side of things, and I think we just were lacking a major deficiency really in our lack of forward patterns, the ability to really dominate space in the forward 50 arc. And then, of course, there is the forward 50 entries as well, coming from the midfielders as well, which needs to be spoken about as well as a separate topic, but we'll do that for another time. But more broadly, we just are speaking to being able to change things up in the forward half, and we need to do that. And I think throwing Kemp forward as that constant, as that third tall forward option is something that could really help us in that department. But off the back of this, I think the question that is left unanswered is, where does that leave the likes of Sauce in particular? Like, he's someone that would have most likely filled that void that we had in 2024 when, Harry went down and then Charlie went down as well. Could we see a bit of romanticism here with, the long sleeve number one Guernsey being played back in defence? Or could he be played, unleashed, I guess, along the wing and allow Harry to be pushed back and play more within the 50-metre arc, provided, of course, it is patrolling an area that Charlie already isn't, because that's a big issue as well. And I think part of the reason why we've had Harry push up the ground is allow the space for Charlie to really work his magic. But again, we really need to find a way to get the best out of both of these players. But yeah, it does beg the question as to what we do with Sauce. So, we could be speaking about the forward half setup for another, 4+ hours on a live stream, which we might do at a later stage potentially. But I think to end this video, keep it short enough in the interest of that. Feel free to let us know your thoughts, as always, down in the comment section down below. Do you prefer to see Sauce played in defence, along the wing, elsewhere, up forward? And with regards to Kempy, would you prefer to see him in defence? Or, like me, are you excited about the prospect of him being played up forward alongside Harry and Charlie to add a bit of unpredictability to our forward line and shake things up, which we need to do off the back of 2024? Let us know down below. We will be back, of course, with any new updates as they come to hand across the preseason. But until then, until the next video, go Baggers.